to me, come to me when you're weary, your burden's heavy. Come to me, my yoke is easy, so come to me, all you weary. Lay down your head, I'll give you rest.
Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Marissa, and I am so glad that you clicked on this video today, because in this video, as you saw in the intro, I am canning. I absolutely love to can my food. I started canning last summer, and I mean, after the first, I'm trying to remember what the first thing was I canned last year. I actually think it was bread and butter pickles. And when I saw that, when they turned out and they looked exactly what they were supposed to look like, I was so excited and I was hooked. So this is my first project of the 23 canning season, and I am so excited. This was today. On this day, I'm canning. It's a fruit spread, and I'm using peaches. It's not a jam. It's not a jelly. It's just a fruit spread. And I have an overabundance of peaches right now, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I used over the recipe. I got the recipe from the Ball Canning book, and you use a tart apple, which I have some Granny Smith that I'm going to use, and that helps with the sweetness, but it also helps with the pectin, because this recipe doesn't have any pectin or sugar gel or anything like that. And so, you after you get all your stuff in a pot, I mean, you just throw all your ingredients in the pot, and you boil it and cook it for a little while. Cook it down until it gets to a thicker consistency and coats the spoon. If you have the Ball Canning book, I'll have to look and see what page that's on. I'll try to list it in the comments below or the description below. But it turned out it was so good. It tastes so good. And the only thing that I did wrong, I guess, is I didn't let it cook long enough. It didn't get as coated on the spoon as I guess it should have. Let me go ahead and preface that I am not an expert at canning. I started last year for different reasons, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit too. But I'm not an expert. I am still learning as I go. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. I've read up on it. I've researched it, and I get a lot of recipes from Pinterest. And yes, I do some rebel canning, because there are some really good recipes out there that looked good, and I tried it and they tasted good. And a year later, I can tell you that we are alive and well, and no harm, no foul. So I am super careful. I do try to follow any recipe I can as closely as I can. You guys, if you've seen some of my other cooking videos, you know that I like to kind of improvise and put my own spin on things. And it's very hard for me to not do that when I'm canning too. And so I try to be as careful as I can and keep the recipes, especially if I'm water bath canning. Water bath canning, I really want to be certain I'm doing everything right. Pressure canning, I still do that, but as you'll see here in a little bit, I sometimes get creative with my ingredients. So you'll see here in a little bit what I'm talking about. But on this day, peaches, peaches, peaches. I have, let's see, I started with a total of 3 half bushel boxes. My father-in-law's friend goes to South Carolina to get these peaches, and usually I just get one box, and my family, we go crazy on them because they are so good, so ripe, so delicious. And you do have to eat them pretty quickly because they go bad pretty quickly, which is not a problem in my house. But last year I wanted some different ideas, things I can do with the peaches, and so I started canning. Peaches are the reason I started canning. Well, not the main reason, but it kind of pushed me and helped me get going. And so I think last year I did peach salsa and peach, just regular peaches, and I used honey instead of sugar, so they were naturally sweetened. And I'll be doing those again this year. I don't even think I have any jars left of those. I do have some peach salsa left in my pantry, but that's only because we forgot that I had it. Anyway, it's really good. Last fall, Sam's came out with a tortilla that was pumpkin flavored, and I loved the pumpkin tortilla chips with the peach salsa. It just tasted so good. And so I've got more peaches this year so that I can do more projects. I won't do salsa because I have plenty of that still, but I'm doing this fruit spread. I'm going to do more just regular peaches, and then I want to do a peach barbecue sauce. I'm really excited to try that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll be taking you guys along with me this summer as I can, but in today's video, I'm doing um, this peach spread, and I'm going to do spaghetti sauce. So I'm just going to finish getting my peaches and everything chopped up, apples and all that stuff, and I'll put the recipe down in the description, and also the page number so that you can kind of go to it. And if you have one of those ball canning books. So I'm just going to get all of this chopped up, all of my ingredients in the pot, and then get it on the stove cooking. Okay, so now I'm going to get my tomatoes all prepped. One of the reasons, I guess canning is the reason why I'm gardening this year, why I have a first time garden this year, because there's just something about canning your own food, and putting it up for your family. But there's something even more special to growing it and canning it and preserving it for your family. And so I wanted to try my hand at a garden. And honestly, it's a tiny little garden, and it's not really producing a lot for me to do a lot of canning. Honestly, it's not producing a lot of anything because I have groundhogs that seem to think my garden is an all-you-can-eat salad bar buffet. So they've killed off a lot of what I've planted. So I am going to plant some fall stuff, things this month that hopefully I can harvest in September, and hope that I can get a little bit more. But whatever the case may be, whatever I grow, I'll be super grateful and thankful for, and I will add it to. For example, this morning that I am canning these tomatoes, we had gone to the farmer's market and I had bought 20 pounds of tomatoes. And so once my garden starts producing enough vegetables for me to add to a farmer's market order, then I'm going to say that I'm using my homegrown stuff to can, and so I'm excited and can't wait for that to happen. But again, this recipe is from the Bog Canning book, and I bought 20 pounds of tomatoes, but the recipe calls for 30 pounds of tomatoes. So here in a little bit, you'll see what I do to kind of bulk it up and kind of get to my 30 pounds. And but one thing that I am doing different from the recipe is I am leaving the skins on. Oh, and I don't know if you noticed with the peaches, I left the skins on with the peaches and the apples too, because the skins of fruits and vegetables have so much nutritional value, and where I'm trying to be healthier and make better choices, I just, for one, I don't mind the skins, but for two, I am going to use an immersion blender to blend all this stuff up, and it's going to be super, super silky soft, and you won't even notice that that the skins and stuff are left on there. So with the tomatoes, I am doing the same thing. I will pulverize them and blend them down to where you won't even know that the seeds and the skins were there. So right now, all I'm going to do is chop up my 20 pounds of tomatoes, and I'm going to put that into my crock pot. And again, this is something different. See, this is where I was talking about. I'm trying not to deviate from the recipe, but I just can't seem to help myself. I don't know why. I just can't help myself. But this turns out really good, and we actually ate some last night, some of the spaghetti sauce last night. See, I was canning on Saturday. Last night was Monday. So today's Tuesday. Anyway, and it was really good. The sauce was really good. So I know that it's these little variations that I'm taking. I don't think it's going to cause too much of an issue, if any. So anyway, yes, I'm going to put these in the crock pot, and I am letting them cook. They end up cooking for almost 48 hours. Um, very low temperature. Low and slow is the way to go. And so I cook them low and slow, and I get a lot of the juices kind of rendered out, not rendered out, but cooked down and evaporated. There we go, evaporated. And then I add all of my other ingredients. So that is what I'm doing here. I'm getting my tomatoes prepped, and I'm getting them into my crock pots, and then I will continue on. A little backstory on how I got into canning. Canning and gardening have always been like on my wish list of things to do before I die. Um, but I never really had time to do it when my kids were homeschooled from the time, let's see, my son was in eighth grade, my daughter was in fourth grade. And then I quit work, and we homeschooled them on through till they graduated. And I needed a hobby. I needed a hobby even before they graduated. And so I started catering. I would, do a wedding here and there, and an anniversary party or birthday party or something here and there. And it really grew. It really expanded. And I was super, super busy and super thankful for how busy I was. I was doing something by 2021. I was doing something every weekend almost. But every week, every single week, there was 2 days a week that I was cooking meals and delivering meals. And then on top of that, I would sometimes be prepping for a wedding or something, some graduation party or something coming up that following weekend. And, I did the grocery shopping, I did the cooking, I did the planning, I did all of it by myself, unless I needed a crew to go with me to work an event, to which, then a lot of my family members were super helpful, and I did pay them for their work, because if you've never done anything like that, catering is hard work. And but I loved it. I love cooking. I've always loved cooking, and so for probably 8 years, I had my own little catering hobby that went from one or two events a year to something almost every weekend. And I was always, I even had people call up and say, "Hey, I need a fruit tray tomorrow," or "I need, brownies next week." And so I was always doing something and enjoyed it every bit of it. I enjoyed. And then in December of 21, I got sick, and everything came to a halt. And so I eventually had to come to terms and realize that I'm going to have to stop catering. I can't do that. Couldn't do that anymore. I just did not physically have the ability to do that anymore. And honestly, my mind has not really been sharp. I know I'm getting older, but my mind, I was forgetting. Even when I would cook at home for my family, I would forget to do certain things, and I would forget what ingredients I needed with a recipe that I had made hundreds of times. I could remember the recipe. And then also my taste was altered, and things just tasted differently. Still, things taste differently. A lot of meat that I taste like rotten meat, and everybody else is like, "Oh, this is so good." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" But so things were different, and I knew that that was not something. It's been a year and a half later, and I still do not have the ability to do how I was doing before I got sick. And so, again, I found myself needing something to do. My doctors were saying, "You need a hobby." So I think on a whim, I thought my father-in-law had given us all those peaches. I thought, well, why don't I can some? I would love to be able to can. And so I started water bath canning. And the first time I was hooked. I knew that it was something I always wanted to learn and do, and I was hooked. And so I told my husband, I said, "I really want to try this. I want to do different things." And so we did cowboy candy, peaches. I did jams and jellies. I did pickles. I did all kinds of water bath things. And at the beginning of it, I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to pressure can. I'm too nervous. I'm afraid that I'll kill us." But then the more I got into it, the more I wanted to do, and to be able to do the more that I wanted to do, I was going to need a pressure canner. And so my wonderful husband bought me a pressure canner for my birthday that year. And, well, not that year, last year. And my birthday's in September, and he ended up purchasing it early. And so I think I got it towards the end of July, maybe around the 1st of August. And let me tell you, it was on. I was canning meat, I was canning stews, I was canning all the recipes. I was on Pinterest looking up recipes. I ordered the ball canning book. I was doing all the things. And so I just love it. I love it. And so this year, like I said, I was inspired to do a garden, to kind of be able to can some of my own homegrown things. And I'll get there. I'll get there. It's kind of slow going, but I will get there. And that's why I'm so thankful for the farmers market. So that's my little backstory on how the reason I really came to start canning. It was always something I wanted to do, and it was just one of those, well, you want to do it, let's just do it. So right here, I'm just putting that fruit spread. As you can see, it's super runny. It is coating the spoon, but honestly, I think I should have boiled it a little bit more. The taste is phenomenal. I added, I think it was nutmeg and ginger. I'll have to go back and look. And like I said, I'll put the recipe in the description. But this was so good. And so I filled my jars up. I think the recipe said it called for 5 jars, and so I've got 5 8-ounce jars here. But I actually had enough to do 7, except for I was too lazy to go downstairs and get two more 8-ounce jars. So I had a pint jar upstairs, and that's what I used for the last bit of it. And so, yep, I'm going to get these canned up and in the canner. I know you can't, well, there you can see it. I started to say, I know you can't see the rack on the bottom, but the rack that comes with the water bath canners, they're just, to me, they're wobbly and unsteady. I used them for the majority of my water bath canning last year, but I saw somebody else doing this where they use the bottom from the, what is it called, pressure canner. So I just like to use that. I think it's a lot easier with my water bath canner. Now, I am not going step by step what I'm doing. I'm not trying to teach anybody how to can, because like I said, I am still learning myself, and I know that I'm going to make mistakes, and you guys will probably see me make mistakes, and you'll be like, what in the world are you guys doing? And here I'm showing you the mess that is my kitchen after just that little bit that you saw. It's bad. It's rough. But anyway, I'm not trying to teach anyone how to can. I am following you wipe the rims with vinegar, make sure there's nothing there. I don't always boil my lids, but I do if I'm water bath canning. I just think that helps it seal a lot better with water bath canning. And so I know that I'm going to make mistakes. I know that you guys are going to see me do things and cringe, and so I need you to help me and tell me so that I can, do it better and do it right. But yeah, I'm not trying to go step by step and tell you what I'm doing. That's why I'm speeding through this. And there's my sweet Pippa. So yes, please give me all the tips that you can give me and help me to do a better job this year with my canning. So here in just a second, you're going to see that I am adding the other ingredients to my spaghetti sauce. And again, I will type out the recipe. It is from the Ball Canning book. So I am chopping up the green pepper, but I'm using frozen onions. I'm going to chop up my parsley. And here in a second, you'll see I chop up a bunch of parsley. And I only needed like 4 tablespoons, and I chopped up a whole head. But I'm going to go ahead and get these vegetables chopped up. I'm going to split it up and add it between the 2 crock pots, and then I'm going to get that cooking. So here is where I got creative in bulking up the tomatoes. I told you I only had 20 pounds. So my father-in-law had brought me 3 large zucchini from his neighbor's garden. And so I washed these up and chopping them up and putting them in with the tomato sauce. Zucchini will take on the flavor of anything you cook it with. And so for me, this was the perfect opportunity to get a little extra nutrition in there, use up these zucchini so they don't go to waste. And so that's what I did. And it worked out very well. You can't even, I mean, unless you saw it, you wouldn't know that zucchini was in this spaghetti sauce. So a few things I did off camera. So I'm going to kind of walk you through that. At this point right now in the video, the tomatoes have been cooking for 24 hours. And so I let it cook for about 12 more hours, and then the taste still wasn't where I wanted it to be. So I ended up adding, and it's not in the recipe, but I ended up adding garlic powder, onion powder, bay leaves, and there's a fourth thing. Basil, uh, dried basil. And I let that cook another few hours. And then I put it, I don't know if you can see it, what I just touched right there is a stock pot that I put all of it in. And I used the immersion blender and I got it all smooth. And so now I'm just going to put it in my jars. It probably would have given me 7 quart jars. But like I said, I saved some of it and we ate dinner this night. We had spaghetti this night. So I only had filled 6 quart jars. And then right here, I'm adding lemon juice. Y'all, the way my brain works sometimes, I'm adding lemon juice because in my mind, I guess I thought I was going to be water bath canning, but I pressure can. So I didn't really even need to do this step, but it's in there. So I don't think it messes with the taste. So I'm going to fill the jars up and I'm going to process them in the food processor. No, I'm going to process them in the pressure canner. And I'll just tell you that with my altitude, I have to do 11 pounds of pressure. And so I'm going to add a little bit of vinegar to the water, 11 pounds of pressure. I let it steam. When the steam starts coming out, I let that go for 10 minutes. And then put the weighted gauge. This Presto 23 quart canner came with a weighted gauge and a dial thingy. But the weighted gauge and the dial thingy, I just couldn't, I struggled with that. So I ended up ordering me a jiggler. And so I use a jiggler, and between the dial and the jiggler, I do a lot better keeping it where it needs to be. And there's just something about listening to that jiggler that is nostalgic to me. I don't know, I can't remember if my mom ever did any canning. I don't think so. And I've only been around it a few times growing up, but that's a familiar sound to me that I just like. And so I do use a jiggler. So I'm going to get all of this ready to go in the jars and in the canner.
You're teaching me with my imperfections, reaching me when I run the other direction. I'm undone, unraveling my plans. Make me whole again, rebuild me from the inside out, in a way only you know how. You're teaching me with my imperfections, reaching me when I run the other direction. I'm undone, unraveling my plans. Make me whole again, rebuild me from the inside out, in a way only you know how. I need a revival, something more than this shallow survival. God,
while this was in its cooling off stage, I heard a pop, which is what I thought a jar had cracked. There was a pop, and I saw a thud, if that makes any sense, on the side of the pot. And so I just knew when I opened this lid, I was going to see a cracked jar in there. And I didn't see a cracked jar, but I did see where a lid had popped off. And I think what I did was I just got that one a little too tight. My husband's hand on my shoulder, he was like, "What'd you do?" It made a big mess inside that pot. But out of the 6 jars, I did have one that I couldn't use, and I was very thankful that it wasn't glass all over the canner. But this is the end. This is, I was super excited to be done with this project. Excited to bring this video to you guys, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you made it to the end and you've watched all the way through, leave me a spaghetti emoji in the comments and just say hi. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe. I do canning, cooking, cleaning, gardening, just anything that, whatever it hits me that day to do is what I'm going to do. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you are subscribed, hit that bell notification so you'll know when I upload. And I hope you guys have a great one. See you later. Bye.